Okay, YouTube is live. Now we are going to start GoToMeeting.
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, Chair, we're good.
All right, good afternoon. This is Monday, April 5th, 2021, and this is the regular scheduled 3 p.m. meeting of the Lincoln County Board of Commissioners. We are meeting virtually, and I will call the meeting to order. Next item on our agenda would be a establishment of a quorum. We have all three commissioners. I'm sorry, go ahead, somebody. All right, we have all three commissioners present virtually, so we do have a quorum. Next item on our agenda, this is something that we do the first meeting of each month, and it's an opportunity to do two types of recognitions. We'd like to recognize employees that have been with the county for 5 years or multiples of 5 years. And then we also like to recognize our new hires. So to begin, I'll recognize employees that have been with us for 5 years or longer. And it looks to me like we have a total of about 35 years of service to the county and the people of our county and our community. So thank you to all, and I'll begin with Rochelle Kaiser, who's a corrections health nurse in the sheriff's office. I don't know if Rochelle is here or not. It looks like, I don't know. All right, next I'll recognize Christopher Barth. Chris is a patrol deputy in our sheriff's office, and he's been with us for 5 years. And if any of these people are present, feel free to turn your microphone on or yell at us. We listen. Next, I'll recognize Amy Yates, who's a pretrial justice counselor in the sheriff's office. She's also been with us for 5 years. Ryan Mathis, who's a facilities maintenance employee in our public works department. He's also been with us for 5 years. Zachary Aiken, the patrol deputy in the sheriff's office. He's been with us for 5 years. Looks like the sheriff was doing a lot of hiring about 5 years ago. And then we also want to recognize Renee Lopez, who's a patrol sergeant in the sheriff's office, who's been with us for 10 years. Each of these individuals will receive a certificate that has been hand signed by all three commissioners, and also a lapel pin to recognize their years of service to our county and our community. So thank you to all. And with that, we'll move on to new hire introductions. Is Jaylene with us?
No, Jaylene is in a meeting right now, so I'm going to fill in for her.
All right, I believe that's Nicole, correct?
Yeah, Nicole.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Nicole. Go ahead.
Yeah, you're welcome. So we have Tiana Alcoder. She's our new personal assistant here in personnel. So if you want to turn your camera and wave.
There's Tiana. Hi, Tiana.
Hello. Then we have Daniel Jansen, cartographer technician. He's in the assessor's office, and I didn't see him hop on. So, and then we have Chanel Parks. She's our office assistant for the assessor's office as well. And then James Kitely, our new transit driver.
All right, well, welcome to all. And as I say each month, don't wait for 5 years to come back and be recognized as a 5-year employee. Come and see us frequently in between those 5 years. So welcome to the county. And I know I speak for all the commissioners when I say, feel free to reach out, and we're happy to meet and talk at your wish. So welcome again. And thank you, Nicole. All right, we'll move on to the adoption of the consent calendar. These are items of a routine nature or items that have come before the Board of Commissioners before. And this would be an opportunity for staff or commissioners to highlight an item. Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the consent calendar as presented.
Mr. Chair, I'd move. that we adopt the consent calendar for today as presented.
I would ask, I would second that motion, but I'd also ask if they can scroll down on the agenda so we can see the rest of it. I think there's some more.
Yes, good, good point. Yes, there's, let's see, it goes all the way to H2. There we go.
But I did second the motion. Thank you.
You're welcome. And with that, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
I said aye, but I think I said it at the same time you did. Sorry.
Okay, well, these virtual meetings, I just like to make sure. All right, that motion carries. Thank you. All right, we now move into reports. And Florence, I guess this is the first day on the job without retired Director Austin. So welcome. I'm sure you're doing well. And give us the update.
I appreciate the vote of confidence, Commissioner Hunt. Good afternoon, everybody. The updates. Well, remember last week when we talked about how our cases are climbing? Well, that's confirmed. We're climbing. You can scroll down, please. All right, so we are April 5 and we already have 25 cases. So that means that in the past 2 weeks, we had enough cases. You can scroll down. We had enough cases that it is very likely that we will move from moderate risk category and go back into the high risk category. I say this is very likely because this is, we have not received the official data from the Oregon Health Authority. So this is based on our calculations, but based on strictly the number of cases. This is where we are.
So Florence, I have an understanding, I guess, that if we've only been in the high category for 1 2 week period, we cannot move out of that either up or down until we've been in it for 2 2 week periods. In other words, that avoids ping-ponging back and forth between risk categories. So I don't know if maybe you can, well, I guess we'll have a confirmation of that tomorrow when we hear from the Oregon Health Authority. But if I understand the process correctly, we would have the next 2 weeks to try to return to the moderate risk rating. Otherwise, then we would go up to the high rating. But we'll know for sure tomorrow when we get official notification from the health authority. But we're definitely heading in the wrong direction.
We are indeed. So let me remind all of us as to what we can do to reverse this upward trend. And, you know, I know everybody's tired and I know, you know, we keep on hearing this, but those measures are the ones that work. So the measures we have available to us are wearing a mask, keeping your physical distance, washing your hands regularly, and now that we have vaccines available, getting your vaccine. All of those actions will help us slow down this trend and hopefully reverse it. We're not too alarmed right now, but you know, we're definitely seeing an upward trend countrywide and statewide. And you know, we might also have some of those new variants I know the Samaritan Health System has sent 6 test results up to the Oregon State Public Health Lab for sequencing to see what type of variants we might have here in Lincoln County. And so if we have one of those variants that are more contagious, that then we will have to double our efforts to really make sure that we follow those preventative measures. And yes, Commissioner Hunt, I think we ought to wait for the Oregon Health Authority to tell us, as it seems that the information.
Oop, you knocked your mute button.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There you go, you're back.
Yeah, so I was saying, let's wait for the final word from the Oregon Health Authority, since their guidelines seem to change on a regular basis.
Sadly.
Yeah, we should have that available to us hopefully tomorrow. All right, you can scroll down. All right, so just as a reminder, this is the risk framework kind of guiding chart, which is an important document if you want to reacquaint yourself with what it might mean to go to high risk. Of course, the higher we get onto the risk level, the more restrictive the recommendations are. So, so this is a very important tool for all of us to look at, especially for our business community and dining establishments and gyms and things like that. And you can find this document on our website. I think the link is on the, go ahead. I think it's on the PowerPoint otherwise. We have so much information. There you go. The guidance chart, maybe, sector risk level guidance chart. The second link, yeah. There you go.
There you go.
Thank you. So hopefully people will take the time to read it. All right, we can go back to the presentation. Thank you. All right, so in terms of vaccinations, we don't know yet if we're still in second place, as the state dashboard has been down for the second week. But we're definitely, our team is quite competitive, so I know that some of us are really wanting to see those percentages. You know, I wanted to point out that this past weekend, we had an opportunity to really target some of our events, some vaccination events, to populations of individuals who might be not as easy to reach out to and not necessarily able or to come to one of the mass vax clinics. So what we did is that we did 3 outreach clinics. 2 happened in the Bayfront at the Yacht Club. That was done in partnership with the Oregon Health Authority field team. And of course, Dr. Snyder did a tremendous amount of work outreaching to employers, especially of, the fishing industry and the agricultural workers, And those events were extremely successful. We had Johnson & Johnson vaccines. We had 500 and 500 were administered, which is really great. And then on Saturday, in partnership with Nothing Can Fire, a clinic was held at the Otis Fire Station, mostly focusing on victims of wildfire. And that was also a very popular event where I believe they vaccinated 265 people. People were very happy, very grateful. So I wanted to point that out. And what else do I want to discuss? Okay, thank you. You can scroll down. So this week, we as a community are getting 2,200 first dose vaccines. Well, we have 800 of those that are going to be one dose only. And then you can scroll down. And then we're receiving 1,300 doses of booster. So 3,500 doses have been delivered to Lincoln County this week. That's very exciting. We're continuing on with the clinics, and we have even more people coming on board. You can scroll down. So can you scroll down one more, and then we'll go back up. Thank you. So the clinics this week, we have 5 clinics for first doses, 3 clinics for second doses, and as you know, those are Fairgrounds, Staff Fire Station, Wildport, and the Samaritan clinics. I believe there is also a clinic at the Silip Tribe. What is really exciting this week is that we're going to start the outreach to people who are unstably housed or who do not have a house. And this is going to be done in partnership with our parole and probation colleagues. And this is really, really exciting. You know, I'm all about partnering and really wrapping services around people, and so I think this is an amazing way to do so. So we're hoping to start possibly on Thursday this week, and then the other exciting piece is our colleagues at Nothing Can Fire will be using the remainder of their Johnson & Johnson vaccine to go vaccinate some of the people who cannot leave their homes and who are located in a northern part of the county. And so that even though we retired our wait list so that no more people really register on it, but we are still using the data that we collected, and especially when we asked people to let us know, you know, are you homebound? And if so, you know, the call center reached back out to them, collected their addresses, and now we're about ready to start getting those folks vaccinated. So that's exciting.
So Florence,
yes?
I have a question. I've had people come to me and say, oh, you know, I went over to Lynn County or Benton County and I got my shot. I guess the question that I'm asking is, if you go to, say, Lynn County and get your first shot, do you have to go to Lynn County to get your second shot, or how do you manage that?
Yes, so the recommendation is that you get your second shot where you got your first, and the reason for this is so the allocations, so let's say we receive 100 doses in Lincoln County of first doses, so we're going to give out those doses, and then 4 weeks later we're going to get the booster doses associated with those hundreds. So then that this is the best way for us to manage that is to know that, you know, those people who got their first dose will come back and get their second dose. Doesn't mean that, you know, there are some exceptions, but it's not recommended for people to go shop for their first dose here and then, you know, go for the second there.
Clearly, it creates a scheduling headache, to say the least. So thank
Yes,
you.
and we do not need any more complications on those vaccinations. We have enough. You can go back up now on the slide, please. Thank you. And so a few more things. The scheduling. So this wait list and notification list that we had put together a few months ago and that had been so helpful to us, especially at the very beginning when we didn't have enough vaccine to make up for the demand. We're finally retiring this list just because it became really, really difficult for us to manage. Now we have all the clinics listed on our website.
We'll get there.
If you go to the county homepage, yeah, there you go. Thank you. So all of the clinics are posted on the website, and not only the clinics that are, all of the clinics that are happening in Lincoln County are listed on the website and with the scheduling link. But then, as you can see, all of those clinics for this week seem to be full, which is exciting. And the other piece is that we are also letting people know that the state of Oregon now has a new tool called Get Vaccinated Oregon, and people can go on there if they want to be notified of all of the clinics that are coming open in the area. So they have plenty of ways to know what's going on when it comes to vaccine clinic. And you know, one exciting thing is that I just got a call from a former colleague of mine when I used to work in Coos County. So she was calling from the Southern Coos Hospital, and they have a partnership with Mackay's Markets, and they have been, so what they're doing is they are collaborating with the markets and the local public health authorities to administer vaccines to Mackay's employees and their families. And they reached out to us to see if we would be willing to work with them on this. So I think that's pretty exciting. We have one Mackay's Markets in Lincoln City, so I'm waiting to learn more, but I think we might enter into this partnership with them. Next slide, please. All right, so this is more information about vaccines and who is eligible. And next slide. No, that's it. Any questions?
Commissioners, questions? Comments? Katie, Commissioner Jacobson.
Thanks. Yeah, just a couple of comments. I think, well, not think, I was involved with the Fisherman Clinic on the Bayfront on Friday, and actually I think Council Belmont was involved on Saturday. Just a big thank you to Amy Steiner from Public Health for putting that together, and the OHA team that came that has done these across the state. Also a big thank you to some of our partners that really helped push get signups. Heather Mann from Midwater Trawlers Cooperative, Newport Fishermen's Wives, Pack Seafoods, and England Marine Supply, which was kind of our neighbor to the yacht club and kept pushing people over to get signed up for the next day. So really a successful clinic. I think the one-dose vaccine was sort of the right fit for that audience. So hopefully after things get resolved with, you know, the 1.5 million doses that had to get tossed out from manufacturing, hopefully for that gets resolved, we can do more of those clinics. I also think it was a nice, it was not a walk-in clinic, but it certainly had some highlights, I think, of a walk-in clinic, especially towards the end of the day when we were dealing with leftover doses. And so I'm looking forward to hopefully being able to do that again in more of a walk-up setting in the future. But just a big thank you to Amy and everyone that put that together.
Commissioner Hall, thank you. Commissioner Jacobson.
Great work on all the teamwork that is steadily expanding the outreach on access to the vaccine. It's definitely a great community collaboration. I am, and I'm sure everybody's disturbed by seeing this upward trend. And Florence, I'm just curious, of the 25 new cases this month, are we looking at any outbreaks, any trends, anything that tells us, where the problem area or areas are?
Well, yeah, I mean, we have two major outbreaks at this point. One that is new and started last week in the jail and is continuing a little bit, but we have a great partnership with our colleagues there, and also we have about almost daily consultations with the Oregon Health Authority to really help contain this. And then we have a few more outbreaks in restaurant workers, but this is also well under control. So the team is on it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I guess one more thing I just wanted to say, not so much for you, Florence, but just kind of a public service announcement, is eligibility for vaccines, which you touched on, has really changed just in the last, just since Friday. It's changed again as of today. And so, just in talking to people on Friday, there's a lot of people we approached, on the Bayfront that were, in the workforce that said, oh, I don't qualify, not realizing that it has just really opened up recently. I think as of today, family members of frontline workers are also eligible. So I would just encourage people, to kind of get back on there and look. Thank you, Casey, for bringing that up. Because I would say probably most people in the county at this point are eligible. So just a reminder that, a week ago, if you weren't eligible, it might be time to check again.
Yeah, I would, emphasize a couple of things. Number one, I think the fact that our county has consistently been at the higher level as far as percentage of people who have been vaccinated speaks extraordinarily well of the efforts of not only Florence, you and our public health department and other county employees, but our partners. And second of all, I know everybody's tired. I know everybody's getting a little antsy, but folks, we got to hold on, wear those masks, keep 6 feet apart. Don't be doing, risky gatherings. It just is something that if we fight the battle, I think a couple, 3 months, get through the 4th of July holiday, I think we've got an opportunity to really see a difference. Because in addition to getting through some of those holidays, we'll also have a higher level of vaccination. So keep up the battle, everybody that may be listening. So, and thank you again, Florence, to you and our partners. So appreciate the good work. Anything more before we move on to our guest? Katie, do you want to provide a few remarks since you asked that there be a representative here, and then I'll follow up with a few comments, and then we'll let the vice chair go with his presentation.
Sure. Well, first of all, just a big thank you for being here, Vice Chair Lane. And I'm not sure if there's other representatives from the Confederated Tribes of Celeste Indians or not, but we just heard and knew that you guys were doing some great stuff over at the tribe in relation to vaccines, and had opened up to other community members and non-tribal members. And as you just witnessed, we have a kind of an update each week from our public health department, but I just thought we should probably check in with you and get an update from you guys on your vaccine efforts, and make sure there isn't anything else we can do to support you or be in partnership, and just make sure that our larger community knew of the opportunity to try that as well. So thanks for being here, and I'll turn it back over to Commissioner Hunt, I think.
Thank you.
I'll just echo some of those words. I've known Bud Lane for quite a while. His two children and my two oldest children were in the same classes together. So Bud and I have attended school events, sporting events, other activities for a number of years, although both our children are on their own now. But really good to see you, Bud. But I also want to emphasize what Commissioner Jacobson said, and I know Commissioner Hall shares these sentiments. You know, the county really not only has an extraordinarily positive working relationship with the tribe when it comes to vaccinations, but overall, we have one of the better, I think, relationships with the tribe when you look at the counties and tribes throughout the state of Oregon. That's something that I think really speaks well to both organizations. So with that, it's good to see you, my friend, and give us an update, and appreciate you taking some time to be here.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for your kind words. We do have a rock solid relationship with the county that we're very proud of. This COVID epidemic, I was sorry to see those numbers go back up again. As been stated by many of you here today, we really need to hold that line. We're in this race between getting people vaccinated, keeping those numbers down or at bay, and that every time we have these, whether it's spring break or a holiday of some kind, we see these numbers bounce back up again. But it's been tough. It's been tough on all of our members and all the citizens of Lincoln County. And we've just got to get this across the line and drive this thing in the ground once and for all. But we much appreciate all of the work that's been done by the county, and also that all the information you guys put out there, that is so critical to residents of Lincoln County. There's a ton of really good information if someone wants to delve through it. But as of Friday, April 2nd, we've given out just under 5,000 doses of the vaccine. The majority of those have been in Lincoln County. And we did distribute about 1,000 to tribal members and their families that reside in Eugene, Salem, and in the Portland area. So we've had drive-in clinics out there to reach some of our members that reside in those counties. You know, we started in January with 100 vaccines in one day, and currently we administer about 500 vaccines every Friday at our clinics. And, you know, everybody has a different way that pecking order for people to get the vaccine. And we, of course, started with our elders, as just about everybody has, and worked our way back from that down to our younger folks. And we've been working closely with Lincoln County Public Health since the start of this pandemic, and we really thank you for your assistance and for that relationship. It transitioned easily to collaborate on this vaccine distribution now. Beginning in March, we've been offering vaccine to people on the Lincoln County wait list, which I see has evidently gone away now. But we're primarily focused on the residents of Siletz, Logsdon, Toledo, and other East County residents. And all of our events have been drive-throughs. They've been very successful for us. And, you know, it takes about 40 staff to ensure that they run smoothly, but we've been able to, that's worked best for us. And we have not had to waste any vaccine at this point. We're very proud of that. When people don't show up or cancel at the last minute, and it happens a lot at all of these, our team gets on the phone and starts calling until we can get those doses, fill those doses. And we've got vaccine events planned through early June. And of course, we have coordinated vaccine events with the Chinook Winds Casino and a number of other businesses throughout the county. So we've been working real hard at it, doing everything that we possibly can. We need to drive home, though, that people need to stay the course. We need to make sure that we keep our distance, wear masks. And it's so good to see national leadership now that is wearing masks and putting that message out there to keep people safe and to try to keep these numbers down. So we go forward together with Lincoln County. We really appreciate your cooperation and building on that already solid relationship. Hopefully we can work together and finally get past this virus that's plagued us so badly. Can I answer any questions for anybody?
Commissioner Jacobson, questions, comments?
No questions, just a big thank you again for your continued partnership and on this one. And the other thing I wanted to thank you for is an agreement with FEMA to allow for our wildfire survivors to live on FEMA trailers on your property in Lincoln City. My understanding is that that was the first agreement FEMA had with the tribe for housing of non-tribal members, the first in the nation is my understanding. So just big thank you for that one as well.
Well, wasn't that the double whammy with those fires? You know, it's such a terrible tragedy that unfolded for us. And it is one of the first or the first, but we hope that it can be helpful for those families. I know it's taken a long time, but yeah. Well, thank you very much.
Early on after the fire, FEMA asked for a list of government held property, so things the county owned or the city owned or the state owned or whatever, so that they could reach into those people to start talking about careers. They approved us for the congregate housing mission. We had talked to your chairperson and provided the list of properties that you own in the area. And FEMA got back to me and said, "Oh, we've never had a partnership with the tribe. Is that even okay?" And I said, "Well, yeah, they're great partners, and I've already emailed them, and they said to reach out." And I think it was even really shocking for them that you were willing to even have a conversation. So thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hall.
No questions. I just really want to echo and re-emphasize Commissioner Jacobson's thank you on both these points. It's very great to see, but just two more examples of the tribe's longstanding commitment to being a great partner in the community. So thanks, Bud, and please convey our thanks to all your colleagues on the council.
I'll do that. And our chairman sends her regrets. We're all Zooming and all of these electronic meetings all the time now. So it's the world we live in. But thank you very much for your comments.
Yeah, and again, I'll add my thanks, Bud. It's a great relationship with the county. We look forward to it continuing into the future. And say hello to Alyssa and Bud Jr. for me, would you?
I'll do that. And you got to remember, Doug, there are kids, but they are in their 40s now. So
I know. But, that's what keeps us young.
That's true.
All right. Thanks again, Bud.
Thank you all for inviting me over. It's been a pleasure. Good to see you all again.
Good to see you. All right, I'm going to ask for a 2-minute recess while I go get a cord to keep my laptop charged. I'm down to about 2 minutes on my battery, so I'm going to recess this meeting for about 2 minutes in order to get a cord for my laptop, and I will be back.
I have to do the same thing. Thank you, Commissioner Hunt.
All right.
Did we cancel?
All right, it looks like Commissioner Jacobson is back. I am back. And I will reconvene the meeting of the Lincoln County Board of Directors. We are at the point in our agenda where our next item would be the Echo Mountain Complex fire update. And I'll look to Director Kenyon or Council Belmont.
This is Wayne Belmont, County Council, and I'm going to do a very quick update and then turn it over to Director Kenyon to talk about a couple things. So first, after our meeting last week, we actually met with folks from FEMA to discuss what's called a community planning and capacity building process. And it's the first, I understand it was the first one that's done for many of the fire impacted counties, wildfire impacted counties in Oregon. And we discussed the kinds of services that can help us really do things that assist both our long-term recovery and then additional kinds of planning activities to build back better, I guess, is the way to put it, from the fire. And based on that, we are going to be requesting some assistance from FEMA. They will actually provide us some staffing to move forward in that particular process. And it really is sort of a complementary process to the long-term recovery group that we're looking at specifically for the Echo Mountain complex fire. Second thing is that Commissioner Jacobson, I'll let her talk a little bit more about this, but is going to be meeting with some staff representatives and possibly members of the Potable Water Resources Task Force tomorrow in Otis to discuss some preliminary assessments of water needs in the community up there that we can do both to help on an immediate basis, interim basis, and then on a long-term basis for water needs for the community. And then finally, I know there's some information out now about the debris cleanup process and especially some opportunities that will actually be ending pretty quick for people to still take advantage of that a particular program that Oregon Department of Transportation is heading for us, but they have to act pretty quickly here in the next week or two. So with that, I'll turn it over to Director Kenyon and let him give an update.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is Roy Kenyon, Lincoln County Public Works Director. I don't have a lot to add. I know cleanup continues. Last week, Wednesday, I believe, Paul Seitz, the solid waste district manager, made a trip up to Otis to the fire area, and with him he had basically his map of ROEs and properties, and he went through and basically inspected every property and was trying to determine which properties have yet to be cleaned and which one of those we did not have ROEs for. And so he put together a list and has since been trying to reach out and recontact individuals, basically giving them the one last chance to get an ROE back in or to actually file for the first time in order to make sure that we give everybody as many opportunities to take part in this process as we can. Unfortunately, I have not talked to Paul since about the time he went up there on his trip, so I don't have solid numbers, but I know that he did identify multiple properties and he has been reaching out. And I know that, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I brought up the fact that there was actually a property that was owned by a lending institution that he was having a hard time reaching. I know for a fact he has made contact, and he was told last Friday that they would be up there first of this week to have that property cleaned up. So we'll take the small victories when we can get them. But that's what he's working on now. I'll have a better chance to talk to him tomorrow when he's back in the office. But basically, we're looking at April 15th as that cutoff date. So we're trying to get everybody that we possibly can signed back up or signed up for the first time prior to that date.
All right, questions or comments, commissioners? I'm looking for a green microphone. Commissioner Hall, yours is green first.
Don't have any questions. I appreciate hearing about the continued progress, and I'm really glad we're doing everything we can in the way of direct outreach to property owners to, hopefully make them aware if they choose for whatever reason not to participate in the cleanup. At least hopefully we'll know that every effort was made to provide the opportunity to them.
Yeah, and contact information for some of the properties, well, it varies. Some have email addresses, some have phone numbers, and some have just a mailing address. So we're even reaching out through snail mail to try to, to get a bite on some of these. And so we're trying to work every avenue.
Commissioner Jacobson?
No questions. I was at the Grange, Seven River Grange last week and took up a big stack of things about ROEs with the date line written on them. So hopefully that is up there for people as well as they come into the Grange to get things that know that. The only thing I was going to add to your updates, Director Kenyon, is also the Salmon River RV Park has also started cleanup. I drove by it and looked at it last week when I was up there, and visible progress is being made. I know we've had some concern about that particular piece of property being cleaned up, and I think it came up at Wyden's Town Hall this weekend, but there is progress. The state is there and working on that. The other thing I was just going to add on wildfires is that we had sought some direct funding from the state to deal with what I'm going to call kind of odds and ends. And one of those things was to deal with some roads that are public access roads that survived the initial fire, but that are getting beat up in the recovery process. We also went after funding for septic system inspection and repair replacement, as well as water system inspection, repair replacement, and extending our mental health team past 8/1 when their FEMA deadline ends. That request went in, and the money for the roads was yanked out. So that was quite upsetting. It moved forward. It's going to the Senate for approval. And my understanding with the conversation with Senator Anderson last week is he is shoving the road money back into the proposal with the double of what we actually asked for. We kind of asked for a bare minimum amount for road money just to kind of quickly do some things, so it would not be an impediment to getting manufactured homes back in. And my understanding is he's doubling that request and shoving it back in and trying to get it approved with that road money back in there. So we'll see how that goes, but just an update on that.
Okay. I just again think that we need to get the message out as best we can. Communication is a fine art, and I think we all know that no matter how many times we say the opportunity to have the state clean up the debris on your property is ending, and at this point it looks like it's ending April 15th, I'm afraid somebody's going to come along and say, gee, I didn't know if I'd have known. So again, I'm just taking this opportunity to emphasize the fact that spread the word, talk to people, and I think the county's doing a good job of getting that messaging out. The deadline's coming. So with that, if there's nothing else, we'll move on to the sheriff's report. And I believe Sheriff Landers is here. There he is on camera.
I am. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Curtis Landers, Lincoln County Sheriff, and I think either Casey or Christy was going to let me share my screen. Possibly. While we're doing that real quick, I can give you also the update from the jail and the outbreak, just to go back to COVID real quick.
Thank you.
There we go. Just a second here. Okay, yeah, just to go back to a quick update on the jail outbreak. We tested all the adults in custody again on Saturday and all the staff. And I am pleased to report that no new positive cases out of the jail, so that's good. I guess I'm told when these outbreaks do happen that usually they kind of can spin out of control sometimes, especially in congregate settings like the jail. And just to really have 2 more from that initial outbreak that we had last week was pretty good. So no new positive responses, so that's good. And it's my understanding the state's going to come in later this week and do the PCR testing instead of the rapid testing, which is more accurate, to go through and kind of give us a clean bill of health, and so we can start going back to more normal operations after the quarantine period, of course, for the ones that did test positive. So just a quick update on that. And yeah, so now it's time to talk about our 2020 annual report. As I look back through my notes from last year, we had the 2019 one done. I was getting ready to schedule it when really COVID hit, and I never did do that one on there, but it is on our website, and if you want to ever refer back to that one, you can. But to move on to 2020, and I'll just kind of drive through this. I believe you each have a copy in your packets to review. So I won't read this, but I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about it. But again, as everyone knows, this was a challenging year. I can really say, and I've seen a lot of things in 33 years, but this was the most challenging year I've ever experienced, and obviously it's continuing on. See here, I kind of wanted to put a little happy picture in there, and it was one of the members I could actually get close to during COVID and not have to wear a face covering and get that 6 feet social distancing. So I took advantage of that. And again, it's a little bit of therapy for me to have our canines come in and visit. They're definitely a great tool, but also kind of nice if you're an animal lover to have around too. So one thing as we look through this annual report that really stands out is just how amazing our deputies and members are. They really remained, dedicated throughout the year. They kept smiles on their faces even through their mask, and I'm just honored to serve them. But one of the things that we did this year, we have, of course, one mission statement for the entire sheriff's office. But talking with the division commanders, we wanted to break that out a little further, because each one of our divisions can be significantly different. Shotgun emergency management to jail, patrol, animal shelter. So each division broke out their mission statement. We include that on the annual report. You'll see here that the Emergency Management Division is committed to leading collaborative countywide efforts inclusive of all partners in the communities we serve to ensure capability of obtaining help in an emergency to protect, mitigate, prepare for, respond to, and recover from emergencies or disasters regardless of the cause. And obviously this year they were very busy. 2 federally declared presidential emergency declarations going on at the same time when the wildfires hit in September, and we were still going through COVID. That's just unheard of. I know that I think our late Jim Hawley, who had spent 40-some years in emergency management, I think it was 10 or 11 presidential declarations total in all those years. So you can see how just unprecedented that is to have these going on, and especially going on at the same time and for the duration that they did. So amazing work by them. They couldn't have done it without help from other divisions or other departments within the county, HHS, and our PIOs. Obviously, Casey's on here, and just a huge help with everything that he's done on those PIO efforts with all the information that has to get shared coming from a lot of different resources. So huge kudos to what they've done this year. Some volunteer hours, obviously, with things going on, some things we always like to point out that even this year, we were able to get volunteers in and help with a lot of different things that they were able to do. Then we'll move on to patrol. Of course, this is kind of what people see the sheriff's office. They see the cars on the road. A lot of other things are happening behind the scenes and they don't necessarily see. But the patrol division is committed to professional excellence in providing accredited safety services for law enforcement, or Lincoln County, in the form of law enforcement, patrol, criminal investigations, community and animal services, and community partnerships. We're committing to developing and retaining talented professional deputies who demonstrate the highest standards of performance, police practices, and accountability. Again, some of the things that patrol was had to do this year is just, again, unheard of, with evacuations of the fires. all the different changes that first happened with COVID, all the new, the governor's executive orders coming out, and just a lot going on with that. I want to get down and point out some statistics over the last year, some things that kind of stood out for us. Calls for service for 2020 actually were down. That's due to COVID, I have to believe. 23,759, and this is all calls for service. This will be self-initiated activity. That's why I said it has to probably be due to COVID, because especially in March and April last year, where we significantly reduced those initial responses by deputies to stop cars. They weren't doing anything, and quite frankly, in March and April last year, crime was significantly down in those months. I think even the criminal element wasn't out doing anything, but obviously that returned to more normal over the course of the year. And we kind of have that new normal going on as far as how we contact and doing that safely. One of the things we haven't put in the annual report, that's our service call response time. This call response time is for in-progress calls, those ones that are life-threatening or happening in progress. And I really wanted to kind of highlight this to show you. And you'll see that Wallport and Siletz being the average response time at Wallport just a little over 9 minutes and Siletz just a little over 11 minutes, significantly lower than a lot of other areas of the county. And we really contribute that to the fact that Wallport and Siletz contract for enhanced services through us. Both of them between the Siletz Law Enforcement District, which is half funded by a taxing district, approved by the voters a few years back, and also half funded by the Confederated Tribe of Siletz Indians in our great partnership that we have with them. So we, in both those areas, have 80 additional hours of coverage. So obviously response times are going to be reduced in those areas. That's, compared to Yachats, which has, a response time really double Wallport in the same area, 18 minutes. So you can really see that having those enhanced services, having deputies around, definitely reduces that response time, which is kind of an indicator where a lot of people are looking. How long, if I have an emergency, if I have to pick up that 911 call, how long is it going to take for a deputy to get there? And so kind of a good snapshot of where we're at on that too. So looking at other patrol statistics, a lot of questions I get all the time are, and I know this one's a little hard to read because there's a lot on here, so I'll kind of go over it. And again, you have it. What happened to crime this year with COVID? What happened? And it's kind of a mix. Most things went down. Assaults were down, burglaries were down, but then we had something like vandalism that was up quite a bit from the year before. Drug offenses are way down. That's probably due to no self-initiated activities. DUIs were down again for the same reason. Kind of those violent crimes in there. Murders were down, but between 2 to 1. We've already had one this year, unfortunately, so that number is not going to go down, and hopefully it doesn't go up. Our warrants were way down because obviously there's a lot of things that we weren't issuing warrants for because the courts were backlogged for a lot of things. So kind of a mixed bag of where those statistics went. We really can't even identify any trends in this, except for self-initiated activity went down. So a lot of those crimes that are related to that also went down.
Sheriff, what's NVAs? I know I should know it.
Yeah, no, it should be acronyms. We should, I got to put a quarter in the jar because I didn't say what the acronym was, but that's motor vehicle accidents, traffic on the highways. Yeah.
I figured it was motor vehicle, but I couldn't get the A. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. And even in a tough year, we were able to actually successfully launch a couple of new programs. One being the law enforcement assisted diversion, helped by a grant that we were able to attain. That's our lead program, and really that kind of a system to really divert individuals from the criminal justice system to begin with. That started up shortly after COVID started, and we really had to adjust a lot of things. It's really meant to be harm reduction model, really get people engaged and help them with support without going through the criminal justice system. This is one thing that I've been wanting to try to accomplish for a long time, just to see about getting, there's really, what's the earliest we can divert someone and still, keep the community safe. And I think that's the whole idea we're trying to do, really that upstream approach to addressing a lot of issues with mental health, substance use, and other co-occurring disorders. Another program that we're able to get off the ground is a community outreach and mental health enhancement team. This is our COMET team, which pairs a mental health counselor with one of our deputies and puts them out there to address a lot of crisis situations. Since we only have one team countywide, my goal in this initially and our goal to achieve was to really not necessarily have a crisis response team. That's why it's kind of named a little differently. A lot of counties have these crisis response teams that are out there, but really having one team, it would be hard to put one team out there, and try to cover the hours that we need to cover. So really our goal with this team is to reduce the crisis from happening to begin with. And that's hard to measure, but this team has done a great job in our partnership with behavioral health to have this start. Is again another project that we knew was ideal. If we could get 3 or more of these teams, it would be ideal, because there's so much work that's out there for them to address a lot of issues, and it's been a really a lot of positive feedback from the community, from other agencies on how much great work this team is doing. So again, kudos to that group that's been doing it. Another thing that we want to always put out here is our use of force. Again, of course, over the last year, with the unfortunate incident with George Floyd, a lot of questions come out with the use of force, and what are our statistics with that? I'll bring those up here. In 2020, with 23,000 calls for service, we actually, and this is one correction I didn't make that I noticed earlier before presenting when I said the arrest categories actually swapped. We only had 739 arrests this year. It was 993 in 2019, so those numbers were switched, and we'll get those changed. But this is the force that was used. Physical control is really anytime you have to lay hands on somebody, for even just to say, come with me. So that's just any type of physical control. And you can kind of see the numbers there where we had pointing a firearm. Anytime we have to point a firearm, even if it's in a high-risk situation that, dictating that we do, we have to document that. Taser display, pepper spray, the 40 millimeter, that's displayed. That's basically our less than lethal device that we can actually have long range to try to, make sure we don't have to go to a lethal force situations. And then of course the canine bites on there. So again, every one of these use of forces were captured on either body camera or on dash camera. All of them go through supervisor, the training sergeant, division commander. They're reviewed for any kind of trends, involving possibly one deputy that we need to address early on. And all these were determined to be lawful and justified and appropriate under the circumstances. So, use of force is something we don't want to ever do. Unfortunately, it's the nature of what we have to do. Also, Commissioner Hall had reached out to me about kind of going more in depth in the arrest statistics. Now that 739 arrests, she was indicating about what was the gender and race of the individuals. There were 555 that were male, 184 were female, 42 were Native American, 26 were Hispanic, 14 were African American or Black, and 2 were Asian. So that's kind of the breakdown on the statistics for that a little bit further on there. And then of course the rest were white or Caucasian on that. And the Patrol Division had a couple of retirements. Senior Deputy Dave Boys and Sergeant Mark Meister completed distinguished careers and retired. And of course, K9 Bonnie retired also in this last year, and now is basically on the couch, is how we understand it, with living with her former handler. So we move on to support services, and the mission for support services is the Support Services Division is committed to providing public services to Lincoln County's community members, operating agencies, and a variety of external entities with the highest level of integrity, efficiency, and compassion. When I talk about behind the scenes, this is really, a lot of what this is the division that holds everything together. It's the glue. We really could not function without them. They do a number of functions for the public, for the deputies, and the community. We'll get down to some statistics so you can see what they're doing. There are property evidence and all the property evidence that comes in. Just to kind of give you an idea, we have 971 physical property items. Obviously, with the technology now, 2,754 digital items were in there. And which obviously just takes a lot of time, and we have to process all those items in there. Looking at their statistics for this year, the CHL was concealed handgun license. They were up in 2020. That's a trend that's happening statewide. Looking when I get the statistics for other sheriff's offices, they are way up. I don't know the reason why. Sometimes that can be politically motivated, and so far this year it's continuing on an upward trend. So we continue to process those as they come in. Civil service papers were down because there was a number of things that we weren't serving because of COVID. That's same with criminal subpoenas, and then our foreclosures, of course, with the moratorium on foreclosed sales was way down. That trend is actually starting to come back up, and that's a trend starting statewide also. And then we fingerprinted 760 individuals, and of course, SSTR short-term rental applications was 579 in 2020 that was processed through support services.
So, Sheriff, if I may ask, on the STR apps, my initial thought would be that since we've had a moratorium on those, that those would be down, but I assume those apps include renewal of licenses, not new licenses.
That's Commissioner. That's correct, Commissioner. That's all apps that come in, and with the annual renewals that are built in. So those include all new and renewal applications. And then we go to a correction. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you have another question?
I just said thank you.
Okay. We go to our corrections to our jail. Lincoln County Jail is committed to serving our community by providing a safe, secure, and healthy jail environment where everyone is treated with dignity, empathy, and respect. Again, a lot of changes through COVID this year, and we weren't accepting a lot of individuals in the jail. We reduced the number of beds that we were actually housing from 161 down so that we could obviously keep those pods open for if we needed quarantine, as we are currently using. And we also went down to single cell occupancy in all of our cells, obviously, to help prevent COVID spread in the facility. All the adults in custody and staff required to wear face covering in the correctional facility, especially when they're out in the day room. I got to admit, when I go through and do our facility inspections, I get through there at least once a month, if not more. And, I thought, well, adults in custody, they're inside, they get tested. Are they going to actually, how hard it's going to be to enforce face covering? I can tell you, they are very diligent in doing that. You walk through and it's, I can see it's not just because we're there. They do that and they practice very well. So I think that is a very good testament to what the deputies have done in there, and also just adults in custody and taking this serious. One of the things, again, talking about new projects that were rolled out, tablets for adults in custody was rolled out this year. That's proven to be a huge success, well sought after by the adults in custody. They provide studies with GED, vocational, stress and anger management. There are some games on there, but they have to go through a number of courses before they actually get to the games. A lot of people say, oh, why are we providing them, these devices? Well, it's a learning experience. Again, when I walk through, the adults in custody come up to me, thank me for them, even showing me on their tablet the lessons that they're going through and how much that's helped them. Some things like stress and anger management, that's very important. They've really have accepted these and are using them. And also the fact is, these are no cost to taxpayers. These are paid with inmate commissary funds. When inmates and adults in custody buy things off the commissary, there's a portion that comes back that we can use to benefit the adults in custody, and this is one benefit that we're able to provide, so it doesn't cost any money to the taxpayers or from the general fund. Looking at some statistics here from the jail, Obviously, with our restrictions and due to COVID, our bookings are way down. They were 3,421 in 2019. They're down to 1,682 in 2020. You see the breakdown with males and females. One huge number that I'm very happy with, it's hard to determine if this was all COVID related or not. I think there were a lot of advantages to it, and that's this number right here in the release early. This is our forced release, was down to 8 this year. Again, it was a high just a few years ago at 701. You've heard me talk about that being an indicator that something's wrong and we really need to evaluate what we're doing. Through the budget process, the budget committee and commissioners approved adding 2 FTEs for pretrial release. They've been instrumental in keeping that number down. While I think some of it may be due to COVID and just not accepting a number of people, obviously our population went down with how we were structuring it. So there was always that possibility that we were going to need to release somebody if somebody more serious came in, or if the judge needed a bed for sentencing. And when we put those restrictions in place in March, we'd actually only had 1 forced release to date that year, and to this year or last year. And that was actually on New Year's Day from a New Year's Eve arrest. So we were trending very well. And then over the rest of the year, there were only 7 more that we actually had to force release. And that's even with a reduced population. So I think that is very successful. It's really a testament to pretrial. And even during COVID, when we were citing a lot of individuals, they kind of stepped up and gained more access to the information off the citation and reports. And we're actually, even though they weren't in jail, they were reaching out to those individuals that were just cite and release and determine how they could help, make sure they showed up for court, getting those reminders into the automated phone system so that we can get individuals to show up for court. With the long delays that we had when courts were really just shut down, we saw our fail to appear rate significantly go up. That's kind of trending back down now, so we're happy to see that. But initially that was really trending in the right direction and getting us where we needed to be. So that was also a good indicator that we were doing things correctly. I was going to say that the pretrial team, again, if we didn't have those during COVID, I don't know what we'd have with all the citations out there. I think we'd have seen a lot more people be reoffending, and a lot more, the fail to appear rate would have gone significantly up. So they've done a huge benefit to a lot of things that we were attempting to do, and just kind of adjusted it with the flow. And so it's been great having them. Corrections use of force, again, separate from patrol. The restraint chair and RAP. RAP is one of our new tools this last year. It is a full body restraint system that allows the subject to be completely restrained in a comfortable and upright seated position. Comfortable, I don't know. It's an upright seated position. I don't think anything that restricts your movement is comfortable, but it is a lot more comfortable than what in our former when we had the restraint chair. So you can see that the restraint chair went from 20 to 2, and we've only had to use the RAP 3 times this last year. A lot of this is I think, a huge indicator of the overall kind of fueling in the correctional facility. I think being able to reduce that population. When I've talked to deputies about that, they said the environment is just a lot better. We don't have as many people getting in fights because of having 4 people in a cell together, and obviously they didn't ask to be with each other in that cell, and that's where we were seeing in those multiple cells, in those multiple occupant cells, where we were seeing a lot of fights and a lot of disagreements, and just so the environment was a lot better. Stress for the deputies was down just because the environment adults in custody was better. I don't know, we look at tablets, a lot of things we're doing, just how we're doing with the single cells. I think a lot of that contributes to our reduced use of force in the correctional facility. So again, that escort's kind of like any kind of physical type situation. That can be just bringing somebody back from court that doesn't want to do it. Physical restraints were actually 20, but pepper spray was 0. Taser was only drawn once. Taser wasn't even deployed at all. Again, I think our use of force statistics were just way down over this year, and so that is just a huge benefit in a lot of things that are going on. And lastly, our animal shelter. The animal shelter is committed to providing a safe haven for our community's animals by protecting animal welfare and public safety, rescuing, reuniting, rehabilitating, and rehoming animals in need. helping keep pets and families together, and promoting responsible pet guardianship through licensing and education. Obviously, between the COVID temporary facility, obviously a lot of good progress going this year now, and hopefully, over this current year, we're going to see that new shelter come to fruition. And I think that'll be just excellent for the community, for the animal shelter. You can see a lot of statistics as far as licensing sold. I think that's COVID. The shelter was closed. People couldn't just walk in, even though we gave a lot of alternatives to that. You're going to see a lot of change too. We're able to put in place a new system for people getting licenses, and I think people will be able to do that more electronically. So we hope to see those licensing sold go up. We encourage everybody to license their dog. Obviously, there's an ordinance for doing it. A lot of people don't just do it for whatever reason, but we want to encourage that. Obviously, that helps fund the animal shelter also, along with the taxing district. One thing that's way down that is unfortunate, because a lot of people love to do it, is volunteer hours at the shelter. And obviously with COVID, we need to keep that way down. But our redemptions were still pretty equal. We're still, if we get a dog in, we're still able to get that back. We still had, dog adoptions were down, but still able to 61. So, they were still doing great work out there at the shelter and keeping things going. But we're really looking forward to that new shelter coming in. So. And I think that is it. I think this last photo kind of sums up, this was Renee Lopez, who was recognized earlier for 10 years, but just, this was before COVID, just so everybody doesn't think we didn't have face coverings on that close, but just Renee there with, doing balloon things. I think that just sums up that, again, what it's all about, and our giving back to the community, and really not just, it's part of the community. I think it sums it all up. So I tried to go through that pretty fast, and obviously I didn't read the whole thing, but I know just to consider your time. But any questions on this?
Questions or comments? Commissioner Hall, your microphone went green first.
Okay. Thank you, Chair Hunt, and thank you, Sheriff Landers, for a great presentation. That is a lot of information to absorb, and I think it's good to get this out to the public. Is this report on your web pages yet, or will it be soon?
It is. It's on our webpage, and you can look back. I think this is our fourth one now since I've been sheriff, so they're all on there if you want to compare to others. And I've already had one presentation to Rotary last week because it just worked out timing. I usually try to get to you first, but I'm also planning to hit all the cities and get around, and anybody who asks to get this out there so that we can talk about the great work that our deputies are doing.
Great. Well done. Thank you.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Yeah, I have a question. Obviously, 2020 just threw us for a loop and all kinds of things, and had a lot of changes that we saw in law enforcement, a lot of changes in people's spending habits and travel habits, obviously, and eating habits and all that kind of stuff. And now as we slowly kind of climb out of this, I think we're also going to see, some retrending or different trends. And so I guess I was just curious what predictions you see when it comes to law enforcement calls and crimes. And I guess I'll give you an example of something that I think about. As a foster parent in this last 12 months or so with COVID, we've actually seen relatively few kids come to care in perspective of the kids that typically come into care in this county. And mostly that's attributed to the fact that schools were closed, daycares were closed or severely limited, sports were canceled. And so all of our mandatory reporters that typically would be calling in a situation did not have access to those kids, or access to those kids in the same way they had previously. And so my prediction is that now that school has resumed a couple days a week and there's some sports going on, but as more of those things kind of come back and kids are in school 5 days a week and summer programs resume, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, Katie's prediction is that we're going to see a really large, fast increase in number of calls going into the child welfare hotline as we have more mandatory reporters that finally sort of get eyes on these kids. So that's my prediction. We're going to see sort of a rush of kids going through the justice system and going through child welfare as we resume. And so I guess my question to you is, kind of with my example in mind about kids, what are some of the things that you think about, or kind of gut feelings you have about crime and that sort of stuff as we sort of resume?
Yeah, great question. And, I definitely, especially talking to our school resource deputy, and, a lot of the school here was virtual. There wasn't that interaction, even though she would try to get on and be into some of the Zoom meetings that were going on. But again, as far as children, I agree with you. I think there's going to be an influx as we get back to more normal, which is we're really watching for. I'm also on the state's school safety task force, and that's one thing that we're really watching too. As far as other trends, I know we talk about it in our sheriff's meetings too, about what's going to happen, and I keep wanting to look at it more. I tend to be an optimistic person, really look at it with an open mind, or really look at this as what can we learn from this? Because I think there are a lot of things that we can learn, and while there's still going to be some things that's going to come in that we're going to be unexpected, the court backlog is one thing that's still way behind because of the closures, and getting those trials to court or having to negotiate those out early on, seeing where it's go, again, trying to get everything back to normal as far as a timeline. I think it's going to be once we get that there, but really looking at a lot of things optimistically, and give this a chance to see where it's going to go and see what we can learn from it. When I talk about the pretrial, I think that's one indicator that we were able to see drastically by throwing into this whole situation, that we were able to cite more people and still have them show up for court and not reoffend while they've been cited. They didn't have to come to jail, and they didn't have to, for whatever we know. You've heard me talk about how we need to try to keep people out of jail if at all possible. We also have to make sure that we're keeping the community safe, and that individuals show up for court and are held accountable. But a lot of the things we were doing initially with pretrial, we were taking slow steps, just drastically threw this into there. So I look at it as a huge experiment that we were actually able to see. And I even testified for one of the bills with the legislators about pretrial and a lot of bail reform that's going on. And we really need to go in depth statewide and identify what is going to happen in the future. And because there's a number of individuals that we can say did a great job and, like I said, showed up. There are a few still that didn't do so good and reoffended, or we've had several fail to appear warrants listed for them. So obviously we need to identify how can we best keep people out of jail, and what do we need to do with the ones that need a little extra help to make sure that they don't reoffend and show up. And I think it comes down to really adding risk assessment tools for in the field. And again, I testified to this at the legislators to say risk assessment tools is really where we need to be, because it identifies out in the field if someone should be arrested, if somebody should go into our LEAD program and can be diverted from altogether, or if they can be cited and released and appear. And so I think instead of just kind of I think so type thing, I think really look at this and evaluate all those that cited and see what specifically the ones that were successful, what made them successful, and move forward. So as far as something that had been slowly moving in one direction as far as bail reform and pretrial release, I think really we could look at this an opportunity. I don't see us filling the jail back up to 161. I really don't. It's always been my goal to not do that. As you heard me say that there's been huge success as far as just the environment inside the jail. I think we want to keep it that way. So we're going to look at that when we come out too, to see, do we go back to 161? Where do we go? And what do we need to do? Obviously, we'll open up a few more beds just without having to quarantine. So a lot of things going through my mind, I look forward to seeing where it goes. But I'm not just looking at the negative side of things and seeing, but there are going to be some trends that we're going to have to start to pay attention to and say, okay, this is going in the wrong direction. I think a lot of, like you said, with children and trying to identify any issues that come out of just the fact that they were in a virtual environment for so long, and now we're opening up the doors and having them come back out again. So there's a lot of little things that we just need to keep an eye on.
Hey, thank you for that perspective. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, I have a couple of thoughts, Sheriff. First of all, I'd like to compliment you and your team. I think as Albert Einstein said, if we keep doing the same thing over and over and expect different results, that's insanity. And I've been concerned, and I know there is a concern that, you keep doing the same thing and expect different results. How do you break the cycle of reoffending? And are there better ways to treat those people? And I think you've shown a lot of innovation. You talked about your LEAD program, the COMET program. Certainly the pre-trial release program, I think, is quickly demonstrated to be highly effective. I know Commissioner Hall was a big proponent of the Stepping Up program to keep the mentally ill out of the jail, and I think that's been another successful program. There are educational programs, skill building programs, tablets available in the jail. I think all those things are innovative, and I think that speaks highly to your leadership. I think it speaks well of the team that you've got. You talk about professionalism and holding people accountable. I think that certainly is a trait that has served the department well. And I think the mere fact that you offer this report is an example of transparency. And I think that's particularly important at a time when, frankly, law enforcement has kind of been tarnished and under a lot of scrutiny. So I think the leadership that you've provided and the team that you've built speaks well to the direction that the county is going when it comes to how do we do things better and how do we keep people out of jail and still protect the safety of our citizens. So thank you very much. And with that, again, say thank you. Good report, and take care.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Next item would be commissioner reports. Whose microphone goes green first? Katie.
I have nothing additionally to report this week. I think I provided kind of my updates under the wildlife fire end, so nothing more to report.
Fair enough. Commissioner Hall.
Same here.
All right, I'm going to make a couple of real quick things. Number one, we were talking about the rise in cases, and I did reach out to Representative Gomberg and ask him about getting messaging boards again that would be on the major highways into the county. Again, just reminding visitors that face masks are required, not only in our county, but statewide, but kind of a reminder to people that are coming to visit our area. And so he'll be working on that. And then I believe, and I see Council Herbage is on the call, the status of the animal shelter RFP, is that going out, due to go out?
Yeah, Commissioner, thank you. This is Jerry Herbage. And last Wednesday, the animal shelter RFP for architectural engineering and planning services, it went out. So it was last Wednesday. And indeed, this Thursday, we're having a pre-conference for the proposal, or we're having a conference for the proposers, and we'll be able to answer their questions and so on. And actually, to give you an update, we've had a number of interested firms contact us for the link to that Thursday proposal. And in fact, the number was around 10 earlier today. So we have quite a bit of interest in that animal shelter, and we're very excited about that. Thank you.
All right, good news. Thank you. And that would conclude my report. Let's see, who's doing the screen? Is that Casey?
Yes, it is.
Public comment?
Chair Hunt, while you're doing that, this is Wayne, Belmont County Council. Just a reminder for folks that we're having another public workshop on STRs this Wednesday at 6 o'clock. Actually, you can see as Casey was pulling up the web page, there is a link there to the short-term rental licensing workshop. There will be an agenda in there and ways to participate in that particular process. Just a reminder, Wednesday, April 7th at 6 o'clock p.m.
And that'll be a virtual meeting, just as this Board of Commissioners meeting is.
That's correct.
All right, and Casey, there we go. There's public comment that we received through the Smart Sheet application.
Yes, it is.
And we want to scroll down and cover all the time period back to last Monday. All right. So that's public comment. Again, reminder to those, the public comment can be submitted through Smart Sheet application on the website. And there, it's also combined that link so that it's totaled or consolidated for each weekly period. All right.
May I make a comment about public comment?
Please do, Commissioner Jacobson.
Thank you. I was just going to say that I think in general, some of the public comment we're getting on SDRs is more targeted than it had been in the past. I think a few weeks ago, we kind of had a discussion about that and the types of public comment that's kind of helpful and trying to make it more targeted and changes and ideas. And I have seen that turn. There's still some kind of form letters and I'm for or against, but we are actually getting more targeted public comment now with ideas and comments specifically to Council Belmont's proposal he submitted last week. So I just want to say thank you. That's much more helpful than just a form letter that says I want SDRs, if you don't want SDRs or whatever.
Okay, very good. All right, with the conclusion of public comment, before we adjourn, I'll announce that the next Board of Commissioners meeting will be on Monday, April 12th at 3 p.m. It will be held virtually. And if there's nothing more to come before the board at this time, we are adjourned until next Monday. Thank you all.
This conference is no longer being recorded.